What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Seth's Project. My name is, of course, Seth, and I just want to say, hopefully you guys had a good Christmas. Hopefully you had a good New Year. I've actually had this video done for quite some time, but I don't know, haven't got around to editing it. A lot of things going on. I bought something new, which I might show you guys here soon. And so I need to get back to work on this project. As you can tell by the clothes that I'm wearing here, it was a whole lot warmer back when I first started this episode. It is a whole lot colder now. We actually get a lot of things assembled in this episode. We actually get the desk back inside, and the only thing that is left is for me to install the drawer and the big Kumiko panel that sits in front of the computer, which is going to be a big challenge for me because I haven't done that in, as you probably can tell, quite a long time. For these corners, I actually wanted the grain to wrap all the way around. Now this sits underneath the desk, so you're really not gonna see it, but it's just a little touch that I had the option to add, and I felt I might as well add it. And that is what the drawer is gonna look like whenever I eventually do that. Actually, eventually, it should be in the next episode. And of course, to keep with the theme, I'm doing proud dovetails. I'm actually kind of tired of doing proud dovetails because there is absolutely no room for error. You can't plane things after the fact. It's kind of just more difficult than it's worth sometimes. I guess now would be a better time than any to admit my mistakes. So in the episode, I think it was last episode where I did the big dovetailed case for the computer, I knew something was just off. I couldn't figure it out. I was looking at it. Something just didn't look right. And when it come to doing these dovetails, I realized what it was. So it turns out I had the angle for the dovetails. Like, as you can see what I'm doing right now, I'm setting the angle. I had them way off. They were way too steep. Instead of it being like a 1-6, it was like a 1-3 or something crazy. And after I realized that, I went back and looked at the dovetails, and I was like, oh man, those could have looked so much better. And you'll be able to tell in these dovetails, they just turned out way nicer. The 1-6 is really just the best angle in my opinion. That could have also been one of the reasons why I struggled so hard cutting those dovetails. If you remember, I just struggled with those. And I think that might have been why, because the angle was so off. I don't know how I missed that. I think to fix that problem for me in the future, I could just make a jig that's a 1-6 angle that I can just, set the angle with my sliding T-bevel every time. So that way I don't even have to think about it. Would probably be a smart idea. This is actually Rob Cosman's new tool. I've had to do a little bit of adjusting and a little bit of playing around with it to get it to fit perfectly for the dovetails that I do. But it is super handy. And if you're looking for a little bit of an easier way to do Rob Cosman's method of cutting dovetails, then I would highly recommend picking one of those up. And for any other reason, just to support what he does. If you don't know Rob Cosman, he actually does something called the Purple Heart Project. And I won't go too much in depth with it here, but if you want to know a little bit more about it, go check out his channel and his website. I was actually really fortunate one day to come across him in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was at Woodcraft and he was doing a show there, and I had no idea. I just happened to have been stopping by, every once in a while when I'm in Knoxville, I will stop by Woodcraft. And as soon as I walked in, he was like leaned over looking at something, and I instantly recognized him. I was like, no way, that's Rob Cosman. And at this point, I've watched probably hundreds of hours worth of his videos on his website and on YouTube, learning how to cut dovetails. So it was an amazing thing for me to run into him. I was super pleased. And we actually ended up talking for like 3 hours about woodworking. And this was before, I was ever, decent at woodworking. And so that was really a cool moment. And I really give him all the credit for any dovetails that I do, because honestly, I wouldn't be able to cut the dovetails that I do without his knowledge and him sharing that. So I really just appreciate his videos. And if you want to learn how to cut dovetails, don't learn it from me, learn it from him. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be starting the next episode for a while because it is extremely cold outside. We're January 8th right now, and there's actually snow outside. And it's just too cold for me to be in the shop. It's literally miserable. I wish I could get my shop fully insulated and get me a like a mini split type of thing in there, but money, it's just money. So maybe one day, but I'm going to take a little bit of a break here until it warms up just a little bit, and I can get back in there and make the drawer. I've actually got a lot of other things planned besides this desk. There's a lot of things that I would like to work on, and maybe I'll share that here. There's a lot of stuff inside my house that I would like to work on, and maybe you guys would enjoy seeing that. I've kind of debated whether or not I wanted to do videos on that, because I'm not really what you would consider a carpenter. I'm more of obviously a woodworker, and those two kind of go hand in hand a little bit, but I'm actually learning a lot about carpentry and remodeling and stuff like that. So maybe you guys will see that in the future. So I kind of wanted to explain a little bit about how I just cut those mortises. It was kind of vague in the video. But as you can tell, I kind of sandwiched the tenons with blocks, and I used double-sided tape to stick it down. And I just kind of surrounded the tenons with those blocks. And that allowed me to use a pattern bit and actually cut these mortises actually pretty accurately. And I just went through with a chisel and squared up the round corners that the router bit leaves, and that leaves me with a nice and crisp mortise that kind of fits these tenons pretty good. I did it that way because it's kind of hard to lay out with this top that could or could not be square. I didn't even want to worry about it. I just used the kind of the template bit and cut those mortises that way. So now what I'm going to do is, now that I've got the mortises fit in there, I actually have to cut the groove that the whole thing will drop even farther down into. It's going to be 10 millimeters, and it's going to drop down a little bit farther. The reason why I want to do this is because it'll make it look a little cleaner in case the top warps a little bit, which it already is, and it will just set everything down a little bit more and hopefully give it a little bit more glue strength in the end. And I'm actually going to put pieces of wood across the top here, and I'm going to clamp it to my workbench. Hopefully that will flatten out the top a little bit, because it has warped. I made this top a long time ago, and it's warped a very slight amount, but I want this to be seated really flat, and I'm going to use double-sided tape, and I'm just going to score around with my knife, and I'm going to go through really carefully with my router bit, and then I'm going to chisel down to the lines, and that will seat that 10 millimeters down a little bit farther. So let's go ahead and let's do that. some of you might be worried that maybe these tenons aren't strong enough and the glue isn't going to hold with the weight of the case because it's pretty heavy, and the computer, it's pretty heavy. But honestly, I'm looking at it right now. I've had my computer sitting in it for about a month now. It's absolutely fine, which I'm super happy with, because I was actually worried the same, that the tenons just weren't, tight enough. They didn't have enough glue or whatever it might have been. But it is holding perfectly fine. Now, if it holds for the next 20 years, I guess we'll find out. But for the moment being, it is holding really nice. Now, what I would have done different, and I didn't really want to do this, I think I talked about this before, but I didn't want to go with the tenons all the way through and do like a wedge tenons. That way it was literally impossible for it to fall. And the reason I didn't want to do that is because I wanted to keep the top of the desk nice and clean. I didn't want, tenons coming all the way through the top, which some people might like that. And I, in a different circumstance, I might have liked that too, but I didn't want to do that in this case. So I just kind of took my chances and winged it. And so far turned out pretty good. Absolutely loved how these dovetails turned out. I mean, look at those. The angle is what it is. I'm really glad I fixed the angle with my sliding T-bevel, and I didn't go with the angle that I had before because, like I said, it was wrong. Also, as you've seen a little bit ago, I showed you my new spiral cut bit. This thing cuts amazing, and it allows me some really nice fine cuts, and I can be pretty accurate. And like I always do, I always get close to my lines and then come back with the chisel and make sure it's perfect. This is just the best way to do it. You're never going to be able to get super, super accurate with power tools, in my opinion. I really, really like this floating case below the top thing that I've got going on here. This is a style that I think I will continue to do throughout my woodworking projects here, because it just, I don't know, there's something about it that I just really, really like. It really has a Japanese feel to it. And so probably my nightstands will have a very, very similar design. And I'm really looking forward to that because it'll be in white oak, and I just love white oak. Not that I don't like walnut, but white oak will always be my favorite.
Okay, so I have the mortises cut for the drawer case and everything is looking good. Now I've took a little bit of time here to write down some measurements. I know you guys probably can't see it very much on the video. It doesn't really matter too much. But I just wanted to say what I'm about to do is not going to make much sense whenever I start. So just bear with me for a second. I'm actually going to make the drawer mechanism that will stop the drawer from being able to be pulled all the way out and from being able to be pushed too far in. There's a lot going on here, and again, it'll make so much more sense when I get this kind of little design done. And unfortunately, I had to do it the hard way because I didn't have my computer set up, obviously, because I got my desk out here to do it in 3D. So I just kind of did it the old-fashioned way, and it worked fine. So I'm about to start on that process. So it's going to be really cool when it's done. So let's get started.
For whatever reason, I didn't record a lot of this process. And as I said before, it was just kind of a guess. I was just trying to, make a cool design. And I'll actually update the 3D model in SketchUp so you guys can actually see the dimensions for how this little button drawer stop thing is made. And it'll make a whole lot more sense then as well. But this actually came out really, really nice, and it's going to work perfect whenever I get the drawer installed.
So here's kind of the final design of the little latch thing. As you can tell, there's a button on the bottom. When it's pressed, it goes up, and whenever I let it go, gravity pulls it back down. And if I grab a drawer here, you can see that the back of the drawer will actually stop on that button, and the front of the drawer will also stop on that button. So that is how that little latch works. Or I don't know, it's not really a latch. It's more like just a stop that works just with gravity. I didn't record much of this process of building this thing because I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to do it. These heavy chamfers are for when I put it inside of the mortise over here that it goes in, because I don't have but one shot at this, so it has to go in. But yeah, so the latch is done, and I'm ready to install it. So let's go do it.
What you don't see here is there's actually glue inside of the mortise, or the hole in the bottom of the top, and I didn't just put glue on the sides. There was plenty of glue to hold that in place. I'm still extremely pleased with how the drawer case turned out. Those dovetails turned out nice. The only thing that sucks is you really don't see them once the desk is installed in place and whatnot, but it was worth it. For the finish, I'm actually using a beeswax finish. I'm not exactly sure why I chose to do it this way, probably because it was the easiest to do. And to be honest, I really like the smell of it. And also when it dries, you can still smell the walnut smell. And I absolutely love the way walnut smells. So to me, it was just the right finish for this project. I don't like the way this beeswax finish looks on white oak, but walnut, it looks great. It darkens it a little bit, and it just, obviously, walnut just looks good when it's really dark. I actually went all the way up to 1,000 grit. I think I went through like 5 different grits getting to 1,000, and some of you might think that's overkill. Some of you might think I'm crazy, but honestly, the finish that I got with 1,000 grit was insane. Absolutely beautiful. It feels like a piece of glass. So I will probably be sanding to 1,000 grit from now on. Well, that pretty much wraps up episode 5. We got a lot of work done. We got all the dovetails done for both cases and got them both installed. And that was pretty much all the hard work done. Well, now we got to do a drawer and then a Kumiko panel. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe there's a lot of hard work left to do. So that's what you guys can look forward to in episode 6 and 7. Episode 7 will definitely be the last episode for this series. I've got so many other projects that I'd like to do. I'd like to build my nightstands and stuff like that. I've also got a bunch of remodel work, as I said before, and that's a never-ending project as well. So got a lot of things going on, and I also bought something, and I would like to show you guys, but not this video. I'll show you guys maybe in the next video. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. If you would like to see more, make sure to subscribe. If you got any things you want to know, send me a message on Instagram, leave me a comment. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see a little bit more behind the scenes of this desk. So anyway, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.